Alright, let's see if we can't find the stream. Hopefully it isn't too far away. Shouldn't be too far away. Formula 1. There's the stream there. Audio is working as it should. There's the Twitch ad. That's lovely to see. Oh, Far Cry! Oh, it's been out for ages now. Why is there an ad on that? No, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's fine. Everything should be working as it should be. Hello everyone and welcome to round 7 of the AM1 Championship here on Contest of Speed. I'm Lane Everingham, your commentator for this event, and this time we're racing at Circuit Paul Ricard for the French Grand Prix. Constructed in 1970 near the town of Le Castellet, this 3.63 mile, 15 turn circuit, it's certainly one of the most unique racetracks in the world of motorsport. Its uniqueness comes from its design. From a bird's eye view, it's pretty much a tarmac lake with barriers well away from the drivers on the racing surface. Accidents here are very few and far between due to the incredible safety here. But it's definitely not impossible to have an accident. Turns 1 and 2 in particular are known for creating chaos on the opening lap. Around the circuit there are 2 DRS zones. One leads down the main straight into turn 1. The other leads down the Mistral straight into turn 8 and 9, into the turn 8 and 9 chicane, which is easily the best overtaking spot on the circuit. Hopefully we get to see a good show out on track, as this may well be the last time we see Circuit Paul Ricard in a Formula 1 game, as this circuit will not be used for the 2023 Formula 1 season. But before we focus on what's happening out on track, there is a bit of news to go through first from last week's race in Mexico. There was only one incident report, but it's a doozy, an incident between Electric Blade, who has just joined the session, and Barmer 22, who I believe to be is absent for today's race. There was a collision on the final lap, a collision which we saw entering the S's at turn 7. And the verdict from the stewards was a 5-second time penalty and 1 penalty point for Barmer 22. This time penalty means that Barmer loses the win and drops down to 3rd. It also means that Electric Blade wins the Mexico Grand Prix and claims his first win of the season. In the Drivers' Championship, Barmer 22 is leading the way on 137 points, followed by Vermouth on 89. Next is Electric Blade on 62, followed by Kosdaf Vader on 53. Rounding out the top 5 is Burzy on 35 points. Behind him is Switchback on 27, followed by Saint on 20, and Cam Tizzle, also on 20 points in P8. Scavney is next on 14 points, and rounding out the top 10 is F1 Racer on 6. In the Constructors, Red Bull are leading on 165, followed by Ferrari on 124. Next is Alpine on 82, Haas on 53, McLaren on 51, Williams on 45, Aston Martin on 37, Mercedes on 12, Alfa Romeo on 11, and AlphaTauri on 7 points. That's pretty much it in terms of news. We can now focus on this qualifying session. I'm doing well, Deston, thank you for asking. It's been an interesting week of racing from my point of view. Done a lot of racing at Montreal in particular. You see a lot of corner cutting there at that particular circuit. It tends to be one of the least liked racetracks on the schedule, I like to think, Montreal. But no, it's been some time since I've done a race here at Circuit. Somebody has spun out. That wasn't Perks. That was, and I'm going to have fun saying this, Knick-Knack Paddywhack. Oh my goodness me. I like the name. I really do. I'm going to have a lot of fun saying it. But we do have a few reserves in tonight. We have, as I mentioned before, Knick-Knack Paddywhack. No Name, I believe, is a reserve. I would have to double check that. But yeah, we're expected to have 15 potentially. Profodes is trying to join the session, but he's currently having issues joining. He's not properly connecting to the host, which is Burzy, for this lobby. And as a result, he's unable to join. So hopefully that gets rectified within this qualifying session and he'll be able to join. A 15 car field is not too bad at all. 14 isn't too bad either. Certainly would be nice to have 15. Bursey getting ready for a run. We're going to ride on board with the Ferrari driver, give you a tour of this 3.6-mile racetrack. Up towards turn 1, probably the second best overtaking spot on the circuit. Through the left-hander, 5th gear. Through turn 2, be careful of that inside curve. Incredibly nasty inside curve. You use too much, the car can get unsettled and you will spin. Through turn 3, into the left-hander of 4, up towards the tight hairpin of turn 5. Short shifting up to 3rd gear on the exit. Clumpy boy jumps to the top. He was beaten by Chase with a 31.9. Exiting turn 7 now, heading onto the Mistral straight. There's the DRS wide open. He's heading towards the chicane. Easily the best overtaking spot on the circuit. Braking just after the 100 board. 5th gear through turn 8. 4th gear through turn 9. You can afford to use a bit more of the curve through that section. The curves aren't quite as nasty through the chicane. So you do have to be a little bit wary. Through the fast right-hander of turn 10. This curve can be quite nasty in wet weather conditions. In the dry though, it's a nothing corner. It's just taken flat out. This is one of my favourite corners on the calendar, the right-hander of turn 11. It's a double apex right-hander, and here at turn 12 it's a late apex left-hander. You have to open up the racing line at the beginning of the curve and then turn in hard late to try and meet the apex. Around turn 14 and up towards the hairpin, turn 15. The final corner on the racetrack, will make his way down the main straightaway and up towards the line. Thursday will set a 1 minute 31.349. Jumps to the top of the leaderboard by, what's that, 5.5 tenths of a second. His teammate Vermou is making his way through the middle sector, around the hairpin at turn 5, around the tricky traction zone of turn 6, then up towards the flat-out left-hander of turn 7. Onto the Mistral straight. He'll open DRS and head towards the Mistral chicane. What kind of entry speed will we see here from Vermou? 205, 206 miles an hour. That's incredibly quick heading into the chicane. 3rd gear on the exit. Getting a tidy run back onto the straightaway and up towards the turn 10 curve. Shifting up into top gear. He'll carry that speed all the way round the curve. No hint of a lift whatsoever. You do not need to lift through that corner in the dry. Around turn 11, there's an early apex and a late apex you need to hit around that curve. It's very easy to understeer through the curve and go on to the outside curbing at the exit of turn 11. And that outside curbing is very, very nasty. You touch that, there's a really high chance you will lose control of the car and spin out. Vermou getting a tidy run onto the main straight, heading up towards the line for 1 minute 30.467. He's beaten his teammate by just under 1 second. Cam Tizzle has currently moved himself up to P2 with a 31.3. Switchback making his way onto the main straightaway as Profodes has successfully joined the session. Hopefully he'll be able to stay throughout this session. As Switchback goes through turns 1 and 2. Very fast S section. Very easy to get it wrong. Switchback does a pretty solid job. And up towards turns 3 into 4. Up towards turn 5, which completes the first sector. They're missing the curb there, I think. The inside curb at turn 5. You can afford to go over that curb. You can gain some time by doing that. Out of turn 7 onto the Mistral straight. You'll open DRS and head towards turn 8. We saw 206 miles an hour from Vermou. 206, 207, 207 miles an hour. So slightly quicker compared to Vermou. Perhaps carrying slightly less wing, which can benefit you. Not so much in qualifying, but definitely in the race. That extra straight line speed does make it a lot easier to try and make overtakes. Switchback now entering the right-hand sweeper of turn 11. 5th gear, back on the accelerator. You can see him modulating the throttle there as he made his way through the curve. Around turn 12, down to 3rd gear, back on the accelerator. Short shifting up to 4th gear on the exit. Around the turn 13 curve into turn 14. Brings you down to 4th gear, up to 5th gear on the exit, down to 3rd. He'll short shift up to 4th and head down the main straightaway. Just a personal note, I absolutely despise the final corner at Circuit Paul Ricard. As Switchback jumps up to P2, or the 1 minute 31.2. Now you see the Haas diving out of the way. That would have to be Knick-Knack Paddywhack as Perks is in the pit lane. So Paddywhack trying to get out of the way, not fully realising that Switchback had just completed a flying lap. That's okay, at least he was trying to move himself out of the way and try and not impede somebody else. It's a very awkward pit lane exit at Paul Ricard. It just shoves the driver onto the racing line. It's just very untidy. You see, with a lot of racetrack, the pit exit is designed so then the cars can filter out away from the racing line. Here at Paul Ricard, though, you just shove straight onto it as a garbage truck is making its round. Look, Deathstorm, there's a lot of nice tracks in France. Magny-Cours is one of them. I don't really think it'll be that great, though, for modern Formula 1 cars. It's certainly a very picturesque location, Circuit de Magny-Cours, but I don't know, like, looking at the racetrack, knowing what the racing has been like at Magny-Cours, we'd have one solid DRS zone that would exit, I believe the corner's called Estoril, and head down to the Adelaide hairpin, I think it is. That would probably be the best overtaking spot on the racetrack. Other than that, it will be a bit tough to make moves elsewhere. At least here at Paul Ricard, you got two fairly solid overtaking spots. Or one, one solid overtaking spot and one really good overtaking spot here in turn 8. We're going to see a fair few battles through here. It's just unfortunate with the nation of France. They've got a lot of quality racetracks. Just, yeah, we don't tend to use them in Formula 1. Instead, we're here at Circuit Paul Ricard, which isn't a bad racetrack by any means. It just hasn't really produced any interesting racing during its time in modern Formula 1. Quite upsetting, because this is a very historically significant circuit. So, but it's a fantastic test track, Circuit Paul Ricard. And I honestly believe that Circuit Paul Ricard should become the new hub for pre-season testing. Purely because this circuit has 11... Oh, Clunky Boys had a moment coming out of the final corner. I think Circuit Paul Ricard is the perfect place to have pre-season testing now. I don't think they should have it at Spain. I think they should have pre-season testing at a racetrack that isn't featured on the Formula 1 calendar. And now Paul Ricard is no longer on the calendar. I think it should be a perfect candidate. Not only that, but it's also within Central Europe, or Central-ish Europe, so the teams wouldn't have to travel incredibly far in order to get to the racetrack. And as I was going to mention, this circuit has 11 million layouts you could use, so you could have a different layout on each test day just to properly test the cars, rather than having them run on the same circuit for 3 or 5 days over and over again, as Preferred jumps up to P5 with a 31.3. Got 3 cars in the 31.3s. We got Preferred, Cam Tizzle, who is on a flying lap, and Bersy in P7. Yeah, I'll be interested to see if the nation of France is once again represented as a round of the Formula 1 World Championship. Will they return here to Paul Ricard, or will they try out another racetrack? Magny-Cours, I would imagine, is the #1 candidate to replace Paul Ricard, or they just make a new racetrack altogether, as Cam Tizzle jumps up to P3 with a 1 minute 31.179. Matty Robbo is on the in-lap. I think Vermeulen is on the in-lap as well. Although his battery charge is quite high, he might have begun a flying lap and invalidated through turns 1 and 2. I think. So he's just bailed on the flying lap attempt, keeping the battery charge high. We got 5 minutes left in qualifying, so with the time left, it's going to be tough to get another run in. He might go back into the pits and put on another set of tyres. But I agree, Deathstorm. 2 racetracks I would love to see back are Istanbul and Hockenheim, particularly Hockenheimring. I adore Hockenheimring. The German Grand Prix should remain to be a European staple of the Formula 1 World Championship, and for whatever reason we don't have a German round of the World Championship. You got 2 of the best racetracks in all of Europe, if not the world, to utilise, in the form of Hockenheim and the Nürburgring. And we're going to use neither of them because business reasons, I guess. There's more money to be found in the Middle East. So we've now got 4 rounds of the World Championship in the Middle East at Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, and now Qatar. So, as well as 3 rounds within the United States. Wherever the money is, Formula One will follow, and I guess there's just not enough money in Germany. I guess there's no point going there. Bersey getting ready for a run. No name on a run? I think he is. Making his way out of turn 2. Up towards turns 3, 4 and 5. This tight complex here. It's quite easy to get it wrong. It's quite easy to cut too much of the huge curbs that are available to you. You can cop a quite easy warning through there. But No Name is not up on his personal best. He's down by a 1/10.5 as he makes his way onto the Mistral Straight. DRS wide open, heading up towards the chicane of 8 and 9. Entry speed 206 miles. 6 miles an hour. Around turn 9, heading back onto the straight. Well, that is also true, Bags. When you don't have a top flight German racing driver, there's less incentive to go back to the nation of Germany. It's also the reason why the nation of the Netherlands has now retained a spot on the Formula One World Championship because of a certain Dutch guy. You might have heard of him, called Verstappen. Yeah, he's a bit of a no-name figure in Formula One, but apparently he's really popular, and apparently he's a bit quick as well. So yeah, now Zandvoort made its grand return, which was sort of out of the blue. As Grimm making his way up towards the first sector split. He's down by 10 seconds. He's not on a run. Bersey's up by almost 0.2 of a second through the final part of the lap. He's making his way through turn 13 up towards turns 14 and 15 to complete this flying lap attempt. Currently P7 with a 31.3. If he improves by a couple of tenths, he can jump up to the top 3, maybe onto the front row. As Bersey crosses the line, he jumps up to P3 at 31.113. Matty Robbo getting ready for his final run. Vermeulen getting ready for his final run too. Switch back on the Mistral Straight. Prefers making his way through the middle sector. Who's next to start a flying lap? Let's see. I see what I've done. Full track map. Looks like it's actually going to be Vermeulen, is it? Yeah, it will be Vermeulen. He'll be the first of these drivers to try and set their final flying lap. As Perks retired on track, I think. Did he? Or did he retire in the pit lane? No, he must have retired in the pit lane. As Vermeulen makes his way down towards turn 1, he'll begin his final flying lap attempt. Into turn 1, 4th gear. Back on the accelerator and through turn 2. Tidy run, just about keeping it within the white lines. He heads towards turn 3, 8th gear. Brings it down to 4th gear. Back on the accelerator, down to 3rd. Heading towards turn 5, keeping it in 3rd gear on the exit. He improves by 99 thousandths of a second. Exiting turn 6, a bit of a wiggle. The car looking a tad bit unstable as he heads onto the Mistral Straight. Foot to the floor stuff, heading towards the chicane of turns 8 and 9. Needs to be pretty spot on here. Entry speed 206 miles an hour. Drags it all the way down to 98 miles an hour at the apex of turn 8. Gets a tidy run on the exit as Bersey retires in the pit lane. Hopefully he can try and stay in 3rd place at the end of this qualifying session. Coming out of turn 10, heading towards turn 11. He'll bring it down from 8th gear, down to 5th gear, down to 4th gear. Will he short shift? Not quite. Use a plentiful amount of 4th gear at the exit of turn 11. Heading around turn 12, down to 3rd. Getting a tidy run out to the left-hander, around the right-hander of turn 13. Into the left of 14, down to 3rd gear. And into the final corner, keeping in 3rd. Will he short shift? No, he won't. Use all the 4th gear, 5th gear, 6th gear, 7th gear, up towards the line. It's a 1 minute 30.274. He improves by just under 0.2 of a second. Matty Robbo, meanwhile, is up to the middle sector. Will he improve? Yes, he can. A 30.960. He stays P2. Cam up by 0.2 of a second to the first sector. Switchback up by almost 0.4, jumps up to P2 with a 30.692. Cam Tizzle, meanwhile, he's now down, just a little bit down to his middle sector. He's still up overall, though, by 67 thousandths of a second. Exiting turn 11, heading up towards turn 12. Bring it down to fourth, down to third gear. Oh, Chase has crashed out. His qualifying session is over. Only 2 corners left for Cam Tizzle. Can he improve? Can he jump up position? Around the final corner, turn 15. Back onto the main straightaway, climbing up through the gears. DRS open, up towards the line for Cam. It's a 1 minute 31.058. It is P5 for the Alpine driver. Johnny Damon has invalidated his final run, and that will end qualifying. It's Vermeulen who starts from pole position, and by a fairly huge margin. So, results from qualifying. Actually, what the? Where did Profodes come from? Did he jump up to P2 when I wasn't watching? Shows me not paying attention. Vermeulen starts from pole. Profodes starts from P2. Switch back in third. I thought it was 0.4 between the top two, but no, Profodes is there, right smack bang in the middle. Okay, Matty Robbo P4, Cam Tizzle P5, Bursey P6, Clunky Boy in 7th, followed by Electric Blade, Johnny Damon and Grimm rounds out the top 10. Paris Plex P11, followed by Chase in 12th, No Name 13th. Nick Knack 14th, and Perks will start from last position, 15th on the grid. Where did Profodes come from? I was not paying enough attention to the leaderboard, obviously. His name just sort of vaulted up last minute. I didn't see. I know I was going to mention 0.4 between the top two, pretty decent margin at the end of qualifying. And no, it turned out to be a little under 0.3 between the top two. Still a decent margin though, between first and second. Vermeulen will enjoy that sight. He knows he has pace in hand. Ah, can see the new glitch as well, with all the opposing crew members standing in the pit stalls. This was introduced after the most recent update of F1 22. You know, the developers, codemasters, they just can't help but continue to break this game. I honestly cannot wait for F1 23. Cannot wait. Alright. Race time here at Circuit Paul Ricard. Start the formation lap. Who's starting on what tyre? Fairly convincing story, don't you think? The top 8 cars, we have Vermeulen, Profodes, Switchback, Matty Robbo, Cam Tizzle, Bursey, Clunky Boy and Electric Blade. That's our top 8. They're all starting on the hard tyre. Johnny Damon, P9, is starting on the mediums. The next 2 cars, Grimm and Harris, they're starting on the hards. Chase starting on mediums, No Name on the hard tyre, and the 2 Haas's of Nick Knack and Perks are starting on the hard tyre. So we only have 2 cars on the mediums, 13 on the hard compound tyre. As I said, it's a fairly convincing story. That isn't a convincing racing line from Vermeulen there, utilising the extra runoff area around the racetrack. If this was real life, his tyres would be in a pretty awful condition. It's quite an abrasive runoff area. Oh goodness, that truck is loud. But yeah, those blue lines there, oh, I can't remember what type of paint it is, but it's a very abrasive style of paint. It's meant to tear up the tyre a little bit more than regular tarmac. So if you run off and use that extra area, you do actually get penalised for it. Not to mention it's incredibly dirty and full of rubber. So yeah, you would have had a huge amount of rubber pickup while you were running off the racetrack. Get rid of the tyre detail for now. We'll wait until the drivers make their way around and they'll line themselves up for the start of the French Grand Prix. I don't know, I'm happy with the field size. 15, definitely a very solid field size, and Not to try and curse anything, but it's really good to see that nobody's dropped out. Everything seems to be quite stable right now. So hopefully it stays like that for the rest of the event. Profode's doing some donuts at the final corner, trying to get his tyres up to temperature. Zamu will line up like that, heading towards his grid stall. So he has the inside line heading down towards turn 1. Don't really think this will be the cleaner side of the racetrack though. It might be a tad bit dirtier. Profode though has missed his grid slot, so he's pushed further back, giving Vermu a better opportunity to try and lead heading down towards turn 1. Hello, Cornish lad. Alright, all 15 cars are now lined up ready to run. We got 27 laps in front of us and 10 red lights. We are underway here in Le Castellet. Yellow flags already off the line as we head down towards turn 1. Johnny Damon, a poor start, tumbling down the order. It'll be Vermu who leads. Profode in second, side by side for P3 here as they head through turn 2. Now down towards turn 3, spinning in the background. It's Perk spinning out. Oh, the two Haas's actually, both Haas's spinning out at turn 2. And now a long way behind the pack. Heading down towards turn 5, down the inside goes Matty Robbo on switchback. Oh, here comes Clunky Boy to try and follow through. There's Vermouth, there's Profodes, here's Cam. Then the two Williams cars. Oh, switchback trying to fight back. Heading down the back straightaway towards turn 8. The Aston Martin driver has the inside line heading towards the left-hander. Clunky Boy, he's a bit trapped there. He's still going to try and fight though. Oh, and here comes Matty Robbo into the fray. Contact between Clunky Boy and switchback. Spinning goes Electric Blade at the exit of turn 9. He tumbles down to P13. There he is in the back of shot. Gee whiz, Matty Robbo did not get a great run through turn 9. He backed up so much. He went into Clunky Boy's and switchback's battle. Gee whiz. Fortunately, nothing too major happened from all of that. Didn't see any debris fly off. No one spun out. So minus those spins with Electric Blade and the two Haas's, it's been a fairly tame opening lap here at Circuit Paul Ricard, which is always good to see. Around the final corner and back onto main straightaway. Complete the opening lap. Vermu out in front with a 1.8 second margin already. He is flying off into the distance. We'll keep our eyes on this midfield pack though. The leaders are set, they're ready to run. But I don't think this midfield battle, I don't think they're quite set yet. So head around turn 3 into turn 4 and up towards turn 5. Where is he? Just following switchback right now. Trying to save up his battery as well, not try and spend it too soon. We head around turn 7 and on to the truck straight. He's spending a little bit there. And yellows are out. It's No Name spinning at turn 7. He's taken out the Pirelli board on the inside as well. No damage from what I could see. No penalty either. He's quite lucky. The game is quite stupid when it comes to drivers making mistakes and using the runoff area. It tends to give unjustified penalties to drivers who stay out in the runoff area for too long. Fortunately for No Name, no such penalty. Switch back around the outside of Clunky Boy, heading around turn 11, almost making contact as they head towards turn 12. Down to third gear here around the left-hander. Burzy is just behind, so oh, a bit of a moment from Switchback there. Too much power put down on the outside curb. The car lost grip. Switchback caught it well. Still running, that's the most important thing. Onto the main straightaway, not a great exit from Switchback. Clunky Boy pulls away. Fodes setting the fastest lap of the race so far, 34.5. Here comes Johnny Damon on his teammate down the inside at turn 1. Chase fights back at turn 2 and keeps the position. Heading up towards turn 3. There's Robbo, Clunky Boy, switchback. Damon fights back though. At turn 3, he retakes P9. So he couldn't get the move done at turn 1. Got the move done though at turn 3. And he's pulling away from his teammate. There's a second between them already. Over a second between them now. Harris will have DRS. No DRS for Chase. Harris is not closing in by enough to try and challenge into turn 8. Deep on the brakes. There's Grimm and Electric Blade. Electric Blade was our race winner from the Mexico Grand Prix. This particular event here in France has not started well for the Alpine driver. Be looking to try and recover. Cam, Matty, Clunky Boy, switchback, making their way around turn 11. Bursey just behind, followed by Johnny Damon. Now around the left-hander at turn 12. Well, again, a poor exit there for switchback. Had to use the runoff area on the outside of the left-hander. Hopefully he didn't give him a warning. Around turn 15, the final corner, and back onto the main straight. Our leaders, they're in a world of their own. Vermeer leading the way. He's got 1.5 seconds to Profodes. Profodes has done really well, demonstrating the pace that he had from qualifying is very much genuine, and it's transferring into the race as Chase gets a 3-second time penalty. Cam holding third place right now. He's got Matty Robbo and Clunky Boy behind. Robbo, I don't think he's close enough to do anything just yet. Got the battery switched on, DRS switched on, trying to follow Cam, who was darting around. Robbo closing in, closing in, closing in. Not by enough though to attack into turn 8. Round turn 9, he's closing in. See the pace that he's got. Cam gets a pretty solid exit out of turn 9. He pulls away from the Williams ever so slightly. Around turn 10. Up towards turn 11. Buried in the slipstream, he closes the gap. He gets a better run out of turn 11 here. Or Cam had a slightly better exit, but that wiggle cost him time. Around turn 12, up towards turn 13. Although I think he'd be too far behind to try and do anything into turn 1, unless he gets a really solid run through turns 14 and 15, and he's done exactly that. A poor exit though. Carried too much speed throughout the middle of the corner, cost him some exit speed as Chase goes into the pits. And then up through turn 1, almost making contact through turn 2. Clunky Boy just behind, half a second behind. Around turn 3, up towards turn 4. Yellow's out. It's Harris Plex spinning at turn 2. Rejoin down in 13th position. Cammy's going to have a bit more trouble now. Matty's closer this time around. We'll open DRS and watch the Williams close in. The overspeed. It's massive. And Robbo moves through into third place. Oh, as Clunky Boy almost goes into the back of Cam Tizzle at turn 8. It was very close. Fortunately, no contact was made. Clunky dumping the battery a bit there on the second half of the Mistral straight. Out of turn 10, heading towards turn 11. Chucking it through the right-handers. Fourth gear. Tidy exit, not so tidy from Cam. Clunky closes in. It's very, very close to the rear end of the Alpine. Around turn 13. Towards turn 14, the right-hander. Yellows are out. It's Johnny Damon spinning at turn 12. Rejoin down the field. In 11th. Oh, dearie me. Was that contact between Clunky Boy and Switchback? I'm not sure. Clunky covering Switchback. Switchback in the tow. Bursey just behind. Into turn 1 we go. Around the left-hander. Into the right-hander of 2. Oh, Bursey. A big snap at the exit of 2. Caught it well. And Clunky is still just within 1 second of the Alpine of Cam Tizzle. Oh, he's just outside. He's back in it now. It's going to be close. Think he should have it. Yes, he should. Just by 1/10 of a second. Yeah, I'm curious to see what happened there at the final corner. I do think there was contact as Johnny Damon spins again. This time at the exit of turn 6. Drops down to P12. Sorry, P13, P14. Now the AlphaTauris are last and second last. Less than ideal for that team, for sure. Switchback right behind Clunky, heading towards turn 11. Almost hitting the back of the Williams. Carrying way too much speed into the corner. He did not check up. And there goes Clunky, spinning out at the exit of turn 11. Lost control applying the accelerator. He tumbles down to 8th place. He's still going backwards. And gets a 10-second time penalty. Well, if he stays like this, he's going to bring out a safety car. I'm almost certain. So, as Perks gets a 10-second time penalty. And he's just staying here now. He's been disqualified from the session, so there you go. There's a rage quit, I guess. As Perks retires in the pit lane. He's had enough for the day. So, in the span of one lap, oh Jesus, we almost had 3 retirements. That's a huge moment from Preferred. He caught it well. Well, we've had 2 retirements, 1 voluntary disqualification it seems, and 1 voluntary retirement. So, yeah, not sure what's going on there. 3.1, 2.9, 2.8 seconds separating the top 2. Seems that Prefers has got slightly better straight line speed. He was able to close in on the straightaways. But what about through the corners? Around turn 11 here, the long right-hander. Yeah, the gap's still sitting about 2.6 or so. Be more telling through turns 12 up through turn 15. As Nick Nack Paddywhack gets a 3-second time penalty. He did not get a bone, he got a 3-second time penalty. Okay, so the gap opens up to about 2.7, 2.8 now at the exit of turn 15. So yeah, it suggests that Vermoo is carrying slightly taller wings. He's producing more downforce. He's able to carry more speed around the corners. Whereas Preferred's, he's got better straight line speed. And if Preferred's can get within 1 second of Vermoo at any point during this race, he'll give himself a proper opportunity to try and battle for the race lead. Matthew Robbo now sitting in a more comfortable third as we look at some trees. The gap sitting at 9/10 of a second between these two. So Cam, he's doing his best to keep within range of the Williams driver, but he is dropping back, and Switchback, I do believe, is closing in. Now occupying 5th place with DRS open and closing in a little bit down the Mistral straight. Not by enough though to attack into turn 8 or through turn 9. Rest of the gaps though are pretty well spread out at this point. Yellow flags are out again. Is that Johnny or is that Chase? It's Johnny. That's his second spin at turn 7 as Grim made a mistake at turn 9 and through goes, well, not quite. Nick Nack goes through. Can Grim fight back though? He's in the slipstream. Round turn 10, heading up towards turn 11. Oh, Nick Nack pulls the car up only just though. He broke very late into turn 11. He's the full width of the circuit. They head around turn 12. Tidy run on the exit, using a bit of the outside curb. Into the left-hander of 14, up towards 15. Grim losing a little bit of ground through this section, clobbering over the curb there. Yellow's out, that's Damon, I think. Yes, it is. Spinning this time at the exit of turn 11. Top 2 separated by now 3.1 seconds. So overall, Vermoo's got more pace. He's able to pull away. The extra speed he's carrying through the corners making all the difference as Johnny Damon gets a 3-second time penalty plus a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane and a retirement. A voluntary one. Again, we're down to 12 cars. Switchback closing in on Ken Tizzle, heading towards turn 8. Darts to the inside but doesn't fully commit to a move. He had a look, just never fully committed to it. Oh, and a spin from Switchback, a costly spin. Thankfully, he didn't put it into the barrier. He's recovered well, but he's now down to P6. Wade is going to be closing in. Chase such a new fastest lap of 34.2 on medium compound tyres. Around turn 11. 7.5 tenths separating these two cars. Yeah, no, gotta love those voluntary retirements. Cutting the field down. Can't afford to keep racing, apparently. Cam, still within a second of Robbo. He's doing a terrific job. I'm showing he's got some genuine pace in that Alpine right now. It just hasn't closed in by enough to really truly challenge Matty at this stage. And I think Matty will know that. He'll know that he'll just need to keep the car within the white lines, maintain focus. Should be able to keep Cam at bay. Cam dropping back to 8.5 tenths back. He will close back up though, down the Mistral straight with the help of DRS. Electric Blade, 7 tenths behind. He's trying to close in on Switchback. He made that mistake earlier, heading through the chicane. Really does show how slippery these cars are, how easy it is to lose the back end under acceleration. Too much acceleration, the back end just steps out. It goes from you, and it's so difficult to get it back. Here comes No Name down the inside. Well before turn 8, moves through into 10th place, the final point scoring spot. Harris down to P11. Harris, can he fight back? He's in the slipstream. He's now starting to use a little bit of battery. Up towards turn 11. Electric Blade, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Got some very interesting steering inputs, Harris. You are on PlayStation, but you're turning as if you're on a keyboard. Or actually, using the D-pad. That's what it looks like. See there, the way that the steering snaps back and snaps forward. Yeah, it looks like using the D-pad or using WASD keys on a keyboard. Very interesting. Heading down the Mistral straight. Blade closing in. Not by enough though, I'm afraid. Switchback is a bit too far ahead right now. Switchback trying to recover after his mistake from earlier. 1.4 seconds behind Burzy. See the Ferrari in front. See how much pace has relative to Switchback. Switchback 1.3 seconds behind entering turn 10. Through turn 11, the gap slowly shrinking to 1.2. 1.3 now, back to 1.2, 1.1. Seems of early numbers that... Oh, well, there's another penalty for Knick-Knack. But it seems right now Switchback has got slightly better pace compared to Burzy. So I imagine this battle is going to turn into a 3-car fight very shortly. Bring up tyres as well. Might as well bring up the telemetry too, because we're not going to see a lot of battling right now. The only thing that's going to create any interest is strategy. See, Blade slightly low on battery, not as bad as Switchback. Burzy's got some battery in reserve. It's always helpful to have that extra battery. Excuse me. Try and defend from the cars behind you and try and attack the cars in front. Burzy a little bit too far behind Cam to try and attack him. So there's no point using any battery. Here comes Blade. The outside contact, wheel-to-wheel contact there. Entering turn 8 and Switchback back down to P7. Not the best of exits either from the Aston Martin driver. Maybe being a bit more cautious through turn 9 to try and make sure he doesn't spin out again. Here comes Harris on No Name. DRS open. Moves through. No Name can't fight back through turn 9, so Harris moves back into the points. back now behind Electric Blade. Blade now given the task to try and close in on Burzy. There he is there. Gap sitting at 1.2 seconds. They're shrinking down to 1.1 down the main straightaway though. Burzy is pulling away and suggesting that he might have a better car for straight line performance compared to Blade, who might be a little bit better through the corners. Switchback just hovering behind, half a second behind, minding his own business right now. I think he can afford to do that. We head around turn 5 up towards turn 6. Blade, he's not going to get any DRS assistance. Oh, I was going to say Switchback was going to get some DRS assistance, not anymore. And here comes Nick Nack Paddywhack to have a go at Switchback. Oh, goodness. Down the Mistral straight. And he's got a Christmas helmet as well. You can see the mistletoe there. Can't believe what I just said. Nick Nack Paddywhack's gonna have a go at Switchback. Oh, goodness. Alright, the battles are gonna settle down for a bit. It's a pity that everyone's on the same strategy. I mean, look at them, top 11. Top 11. They're all on the same tyre. Everyone's doing the same thing. There's not going to be much strategy going on. Ugh. Burzy, he is actually closing in. Actually, I think. Gap was over 2 seconds last time I checked between Cam and Burzy, so I think the battle's back on. I think. Pretty sure it is. Alright, it's 1.1. He is closing, so we're going to have a battle for P4. Goody. I'd like to see some on-track action. Always good fun. Around turn 6, heading up towards turn 7. Yeah, pretty much, KD. Oprah's giving out all the hard tyres. Everyone has hard tyres, except for Chase. Chase has been a naughty boy, so he gets a medium tyre. No, he's still running, which is really, really good to see. Some of the other drivers quit, but Chase, he's still going. Still soldiering on. I always respect a driver who just keeps soldiering on. You know, they may make a mistake here or there, like break a wing, you know, go through the pit lane a few times, but they keep going. And I always respect that. You never truly know in F1 League Racing. This sport, this game that we play is very random. Very random things happen, so you're never truly out of it. Into the pits goes somebody. It's Electric Blade, he's in. And yeah, it would be about the pit window too. Lap 15 of 27. We're at lap 15. Okay. Yeah, no, this is well and truly into the pit window. Off go the hards, on go the mediums, and away he leaves, and he should have clear air too. So he'll be hoping for an undercut, which... Does an undercut work here at Paul Ricard? It's been a while since I raced here. So I honestly can't remember. I know at certain tracks the undercut's really good. But here at Le Castellet, I don't know. I don't know. Well, I guess I'll find out. I guess I'll find out. The cars to keep an eye on relative to Electric Blade will be Cam Tizzle and Burzy, as he was only 1 second behind Burzy. Seems like Cam has responded to Burzy's pace. The gap has increased back up to 1.5, now 1.6 seconds. So Cam, he's got a little bit left in the tank, and you can tell from the battery as well, 35% compared to 9% on Burzy's Ferrari. So Cam, he's been saving up a bit. Now he's got a little bit to spend. Seems that his car now starting to come good once again. Proposes in. Alright, so code's going to do from here. Surely everyone's just going to pit for mediums. Maybe we'll get that one oddball who pits for soft tyres and goes to the end. Switchback, a penalty. Really? He must have done that at pit entry. I know with this game, you can get really unlucky and get warnings for going through the pits just normally. Maybe that's what happened to Switchback. Not sure. I know previously it was 5-second time penalties that the game used to give out. Maybe it's just warnings now. And here comes Blade, and he's got tyres that are nice and warm. And he's only 1.5 seconds behind Cam. So Blade is going to jump Bursey. Looking off current numbers, Blade is going to jump Bursey. The undercut is powerful. Interesting. And look at Blade closing in. 8 tenths, 7.5 tenths, 6 tenths, 5.5 DRS open. Could be a P4 on the cards here for Blade if he can get by his teammate. Look at him, he's now on the back of the Alpine, heading through turn 9. So that one lap undercut seems to have worked pretty well. Vermoo is into the pits now. Our race leader will be moving off the hard tyre and onto a set of mediums. There we are. Nice and lovely. Robbo doing the same. I imagine Bursey will stay out one more. He is staying out one more. And he'll chuck on medium tyres after he's completed the next lap. See here, Blade closing in on his teammate. Switchback closing in on his teammate. That's because Harris is yet to box, and I think Harris is boxing this lap. Just let Switchback through into P8. Oh no, he just let his teammate through. Well, that's very gentlemanly from Harris there, as Blade sets a new fastest lap. Knick-Knack Paddywhack's got a new set of mediums. 0.4 of a second, closing in on Cam Tizzard. Not by enough though to attack through here. But maybe, and most likely probably, he will get by down the Mistral straight. We'll see. Heading around turn 6. Important that you get nice traction out of here. I think Blade uses traction control, so yeah, obviously he gets nice traction out of there. I think he is. Certainly looks like it from the telemetry. Gaining, but not enough. Not enough into turn 8. Yeah, you can't do that without TC turned on, so yeah, you must have it turned on. Late closing. Not by enough. Robbo on fresh tyres. He's lost a little bit of time to Cam, which is expected when you move off warm tyres and put on cold ones. The medium tyres takes about, I don't know, half a lap, 3/4 of a lap to fully warm up, get themselves into an optimal temperature range. And this pit lane's long, Bursey. It's real long here at Paul Ricard. Keep an eye on those 2 light blue dots. There goes Robbo. There goes Cam. And there goes Blade. That is the penalty of staying out for so long. Additionally, Bursey's going to lose even more time thanks to how long it takes for those tyres to get up into an optimal temperature range. So Bursey has well and truly penalised himself due to that overcut. It really has not worked at all. Switchback though is a bit too far behind to try and challenge Bursey right now. As Harris goes into the pits, he'll be moving on to a set of mediums, and he'll go to the end of the race on those. I wonder if he'll resume his battle with No Name. He's a bit too far behind right now. Additionally, penalties seem like they're going to play a bit of a factor in all of this. We've got 5 cars with penalties right now. See, Blade's got 3, Switchback's got 3, Knick-Knack Penalty Whack has got 9. We've got Harris with 3 and Chase with 3 as well. Some of these penalties might actually play a factor, especially with Knick-Knack's 9 seconds. Grim 4.5 seconds behind is bound to gain thanks to Knick-Knack's penalties. Blade still just sort of hovering behind his teammate Cam. Hey man, I've got to try and make it somewhat interesting. I mean, okie dokie. Well, if Knick-Knack's sort of making the joke more real, he's got another 3-second time penalty, increasing his total to 12. There goes Blade, he's moving through into 4th. Yeah, I've got to make this stream interesting somehow. We don't have a lot of battling out on track. So, talking a bit of rubbish, trying to spice things up, make it a bit more entertaining to watch. Yeah. Long broadcasts where not a lot happens are... yeah, they're not fun. I remember doing a Gran Turismo sport race for a racing league called Ruse, Race on Oz. It was a 2-hour race around a place called Tokyo Expressway. And it was in GT cars. And I kid you not, after the first 10 minutes, there was a grand total of nothing that happened for the rest of the race. Ugh, it was not fun. It was not fun. I got paid for it, so I wasn't too upset. And I tried to make it as interesting as I could. It was full of people who were actually top split drivers from my region. I live here in Australia, so we get a whole bunch of Australians, Kiwis, battling against each other in Race on Oz, and we actually had quite the roster of some of the top split drivers from both Australia and New Zealand. So it was obviously high quality, but just a 2-hour race on a street circuit that's 2 lanes wide at best. It just, yeah, wasn't much. Qualifying was good fun though to broadcast, as you'd probably expect. But the rest of the race was, yeah, 10 minutes of action, some highlights here and there, but honestly it was 110 minutes of just people driving around in circles. There's a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Alright, so he and Sweetback are now on equal ground. Yellow's out. That's Grim spinning. Grim has made an oopsie, and that's an oopsie he can't afford to make. He was in a position to beat Knick-Knack Paddywhack because of the penalties he's claimed. But now Grim is 12.2 seconds behind, so he needs to get a move on and get back within that 12-second range. Get back within 12 seconds. Oh, gee whiz. And he's done it already. He's back to 11.8 seconds behind. I've talked about drivers being within the 1 second range, being within 3 seconds, sometimes 6. I don't think I've ever said this driver needs to get back within the 12 second range of the car in front. That's the new one. Ugh. Alright, so we've got a couple of battles going on right now, jokes aside. We do have the 2 Alpines, but they're teammates, so they're not going to battle each other too hard. I reckon these two are going to have a crack, especially if Switchback is able to get himself into a position to try and battle. 1 second separating these two. We know how much pace Bursey's got. Switchback has got pace, but he doesn't have battery. He's used all of it in his attempts to try and catch up through turns 1 and 2, the very tricky turns 1 and 2. Both cars get through, and that's Harris spinning out. Oh dear, he's made a mistake at turn 12, and he's on the inside of the curve. I was going to say, turn 12 didn't look right, but yeah, he's using the extra bit of racetrack on the inside of turn 12. One of the many different routes you can take around Circuit Paul Ricard. There's like 11 million different layouts around this circuit. You got that bit there, you got the extra chicane here, you got extra chicane here and there, you know. There's about 7 different versions of that same chicane you can go through. And there's just one massive straight you can also use as well. Could you imagine, without that chicane, it was just one long straight heading towards turn 10. It will make turn 10 a much more terrifying corner to go through without that chicane there. Turn 11, and here at turn 12 there's an area you can cut turn 11. There's that bit on the inside. We'll head out of turn 12 here. There's no additional layouts here. There's only one way you can go through 14 and through turn 15. It's unfortunate that we all have to go through this final corner. I am not a fan of that turn. Don't like it at all. It was really tight, really slow, awkward way to end the lap. Not fun. Not fun at all. Turn 1, you can cut there and head onto the straight. You can go straight on there, through that bit. Oh, and running wide, you don't want to go straight on their blade. You want to stay on this stuff. This stuff is much, much better to stay on. No additional layouts through here that you can utilise, so we'll just make our way around turn 5. Vermoo gets a time penalty. Well, race leader's made a slight boo-boo, not that it will affect him too much. Out of turn 6. And you can see the additional layout there. See the additional layout there, and there, and there. And we're back to the chicane again. Just... Circuit Paul Ricard could be used for just about anything, and there are so many different layouts you could utilise, which again reaffirms my belief that this racetrack would be the perfect pre-season testing racetrack. It would be perfect here, absolutely perfect, and I wouldn't be surprised if Formula One management did think that Paul Ricard might be a decent spot to have pre-season testing from now on. Or perhaps they would just keep it in Bahrain. They did it in Bahrain this year, which logistically makes a lot of sense, because in years past you would go from Spain to, you'll go from your base in either England or Italy, or if you're Sauber, it's in Switzerland. You would move then to Bahrain, then you would go to... Sorry, you would move to Spain, then you would move to Bahrain for the opening round, or to Australia. Whereas now, they just go from England straight to Bahrain, and you do pre-season testing there. The only problem I have with pre-season testing at Bahrain is the same reason why I had a problem with pre-season testing at Spain. It's because it's one of the rounds of the World Championship. All the teams gather so much data about the racetrack. They know how to get optimal performance for their own car. So you'll tend to see the field spread out somewhat and see the car's genuine performance. You'll see cars group up, like teammates group up and spread out, unless the midfield pack is quite competitive, which I'd say it is this year, as that's Harris spinning out at turn 2. Switch back close down the inside at turn 11. Hello. Thursday will fight back down the inside at 12. And he'll win the battle. Or will he win the war? As we'll find out in a few moments' time. But yeah, each team gathers so much data about their car at that particular circuit. They know how to get optimal performance. So the competition sort of dies down a little bit. Each team are sort of put into their own little world on the racetrack, which is something you can really pick that up at a place like Spain. You see in years past, it's like domination from Mercedes 1-2 over and over and over again. None of the other teams can compete because they know their cars aren't really good enough to try and compete against Mercedes there. So it's a constant 1-2. But now, hopefully, as well, speaking of Spain, get to have that bloody chicane removed. Another penalty for Nick Nack. I am so incredibly thankful that they finally get to remove that horrendous, awful, godforsaken chicane at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. It needs to go. Like, I was shocked to see MotoGP use that particular layout, because obviously with motorbikes there's an increased danger when you have an accident. You know, that's very obvious to think. So it made me realise that if bikes could use that outer layout and not go through the chicane, why couldn't Formula One cars? And I'm grateful finally we get to use that outer layout now. It made those final 2 corners incredibly interesting at Barcelona. I'm really looking forward to seeing that in next year's game, and looking forward to seeing it in real life as well. I think it'd be fantastic. It'll make the run onto the main straight so fast and ferocious. It'd be fascinating to see how the cars go through there and the loads that the drivers have to put up with. Sort of gone full circle with Spain. It's now looking like the original layout from 1990. So, made all these changes and now we're undoing all those changes. Reverting back to the original style. Berzy's put in a fair amount of hard work. He's caught up to the two Alpines. Caught up to Cam Tittle, heading towards turns 8 and 9. Chuck it in through 8 into turn 9. And now switchbacks on the back of this. And 3 of the 4 cars in this battle have the same number of time penalties. So Cam's in the hot seat to try and take 4th in this race. And so long as he doesn't get a time penalty, he will secure 4th. But in terms of who else... Oh, hello. Knickknack's had a spin at turn 8. And he'll rejoin safely. But it means now Grimm is back in the perfect position to try and finish P8 in the race. But, yeah, Cam's put himself in a position where he will finish in 4th, so long as he keeps the car within the white lines and not make a mistake. There's Matty Robbo way off in the distance. He's set for a 3rd place finish so long as he doesn't make a mistake. Down towards T1. Cam close, but I think Cam, he should realise he doesn't need to attack his teammate. In fact, he doesn't really need to defend from the cars behind either. Just needs to keep his eyes forward and not do anything too silly. He knows he's got the advantage when it comes to penalties. So yeah, just don't do anything too silly. Utilise the DRS from your teammate and try and keep the 2 cars behind at bay. Yellow's out. Oh, switchback has spun at turn 7. Couldn't quite tell from the camera angle initially because the tyre barrier blocked the exit of turn 7, but that will end his chance of fighting for what could have been a top 5 finish if the right circumstances panned out. Now he's set for 7th place now for sure, unless one of these 3 make a mistake. Meanwhile, out in front, minding his own business, Vermeulen has been in a class of his own here at Paul Ricard. Just minding his own business, churning over laps, commanding the race. Nice and simple. And all he needs to do is not make any mistakes. And he will take the win here in Le Castellet. Preferreds will take home a pretty solid P2 finish as well, especially considering he was having connection issues during the build-up of this event. It was quite thankful that he was able to get into the lobby in the first place, let alone be in a position to finish on the podium. Matty Robbo has driven pretty well too. He'll finish in 3rd place so long as he doesn't make any more mistakes. And I don't think they will. They're a bit too far ahead of the drivers behind to be under any sort of pressure. Just need to make sure they don't do anything silly. Bersy, will he go for a move here on Cam? He's close. Switchback gets another time penalty. And Bersy, he'll stay behind. 2 corners left for Vermeulen. Driven quite tidily over the course of this Grand Prix. So much so, I really haven't had much to say about it. Quite the perfect race for Vermeulen. He'll win the French Grand Prix by quite the commanding margin. Next across the line will be Preferreds. Joined midway through qualifying, put it onto the front row, and he stayed there throughout this race. He'll take home a P2 finish. Matty Robbo will complete the podium places in 3rd. He's run out of fuel, but he got there in the end. Next will be the 2 Alpines, Blade and Cam. It'll be P4 and P5 for the Alpine duo, with Bersy coming home in P6. Switchback, what has been an up and down race for the Aston Martin driver. He'll finish in P7. Next will be Knick-Knack Paddywhack with all the penalties in the world. He'll come home in P8. Next will be the two Mercedes of Grimm and No Name, who will complete the finishing order. Nick Nack drops down to 9th thanks to the penalties, and No Name will finish in the points in the final point scoring spot of 10th. There we are. Electric Blade was given driver of the day. We'll see his performance in the final results screen. But for now, it's the podium celebrations. Hopefully they load up accordingly. Never really know with this game. Of course, it'll take forever for this thing to load up. We probably won't be getting final results then either. Oh, well, we'll get to enjoy the podium anyway. For the second time in this season, Vermeulen will take victory. First win came in Azerbaijan, the second comes here, what could be the last race at Circuit Paul Ricard. P2 goes to Profodes, P3 to Matti Robbo. Yeah, I reckon we're not going to get final results. It's not going to properly load in, which is quite frustrating. Yeah. Didn't think so. That's so frustrating. What? I really wish this game wasn't as broken as what it currently is. It's very frustrating, and it's also frustrating that the game has got a lot of things wrong with it from a core point of view. Some of the core gameplay elements are they're not very good. Especially F1 Life. That thing is completely worthless in my honest opinion. And to hear some of the news for F1 23, I don't think F1 Life is going away. In fact, from certain reports, it's going to turn into F1 World. Whatever that looks like. Probably not good. F1 Life has been a complete flop, and that seems to be the major area of focus for F1 23, so yeah, it's not looking great. Well, not exactly the most incredible race in the world, I'm sure a lot of you would agree. But it sort of sums up Circuit Paul Ricard in a nutshell. You occasionally get a good battle or two, some interesting storylines can develop, but more often than not, it's a boring race. It's just something you kind of have to accept with Circuit Paul Ricard. But I think now with everything said and done, time for us to end the stream. A final can't speak now. Final congratulations for the top three. Vermeulen, Profodes, Matti Robbo, congratulations on your top three finishing positions. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and we'll see you next week for round 8 of the AM1 Championship at a slightly better racetrack compared to Circuit Paul Ricard. A certain racetrack called Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. Maybe next week might be a tad bit more exciting. Let's hope so. And until then, it's goodbye.